Hey everyone, welcome to Thought Leaders Cafe. Today we have a very interesting topic to discuss. AI war is on. We have a lot of AI agents competing against each other. When ChatGPT came out, it changed everything around us. The way we access information, the way we search for information, we plan our trips, how you do your resumes, how you even compose your emails. Everything changed around you. It's way simpler and faster. And now we have DeepSeek. DeepSeek does almost everything ChatGPT does and at a very, very cheap rate. And we are going to be discussing how that is even possible. I like healthy competition because the knowledge is not concentrated just in one part of the world. So it is healthy, but at the same time, I'm curious to see how they're able to do everything at a cheaper rate. So we are going to be talking to Karl Weaver. He's an expert on AI technologies and mobile phone technologies, and he's at the core of the future. So I'm excited to talk to him and get answers to these questions. See you there. Hey, Karl, welcome to my channel, Thought Leaders Cafe.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your channel. I don't see the virtual coffee, but I'm sure that it will come sooner or later.
Maybe
Um,
I should arrange for coffee, virtual coffee, and I have a logo on the side so we can get a feel
Eventually,
of it.
one day, AI will help a drone deliver it right to my doorstep, I'm sure. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Karl Weaver. I'm here in the pristine Pacific Northwest, and I'm grateful to attend Arena's chat here, coffee chat, Java session. Let's go.
Thank you. You actually gotten into the topic itself, AI. Today, AI is a very hot topic, especially with all these chatbots competing with each other, generative AI and DeepSeek just throwing everything else in the market. So, what is your take on DeepSeek?
So my take on DeepSeek is this is not a flash in the pan. It is a Sputnik moment, in my humble opinion, for the United States, only because they were caught off guard, because they've always been caught off guard when it comes to anything of ICT related technologies in the Asian, especially the Chinese world. So, in my humble opinion, DeepSeek is a call to action, really, for the Americans to realize what's actually really going on, which is, look, Asia is evolving and innovating and developing talent. And that's in the Chinese world, that's in India as well, that's in all of Asia. And so Asia's rising. It's what I call the Pacific Century. But most Americans who've never, let's say, traveled to Asia or lived in Asia don't realize that DeepSeek is about talented AI engineers, programmers, software developers, et cetera, et cetera. And what we see, we could be watching a bifurcation of the West, AI developed in the West and AI developed in the Chinese world. Let's hope we don't have too much of this bifurcation, because it's not good. We need the world working together with AI. So in terms of what I see, of course, DeepSeek is open source. So this is very, very important. It's actually very, very beneficial to the world. So don't complain when something is open source, because then you can read the white paper, understand what's actually going on. These are basically, DeepSeek has provided us with efficient training models. Basically, they're using something called mix of experts, reinforced learning, chain of thought, and something called distillation. But these are all machine learning types of processes that are used. Now, if you're new to AI, and if you're not a software programmer, please understand, please realize today's discussion that I give is really not meant for programmers. This is meant for the rest of the world to understand. AI is advancing. Talent is coming from Asia. Americans are investing a lot in the infrastructure. There's also the low cost of compute, which is really the key issue here. So NVIDIA is a GPU design house. It's huge, right?
Right.
But they don't actually make they don't actually make the GPUs. That's actually made by TSMC in Taiwan. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But they make something called the H100. Now, the H100 is top of the line. It costs anywhere between $3,000 sorry, 30,000, and some say on the black market $50,000 per pop. Okay, so per GPU. This is very, very expensive, but that's
Yeah.
because all the data centers in the world are using it. And but the DeepSeek model, the LLM model, for learning use LLMs to learn the AI system, and then of course inference. They're using what's called H800s. Now those H800s are were available to China up until, I believe, just a few months ago. They were available to China, so China stockpiled a bunch of them. But there are H100s in China. There are H800s in China. They're getting them through the Silk Road or through the back door or through Singapore, et cetera, but it's happening. You're not going to stop the flow of these because they're black market commodity items. You can buy them anywhere in the black market.
Okay.
I think the real key point with DeepSeek is the level of edge optimization that will happen with smartphones and IoT devices, because it's a cheaper model. And you need cheap when you're developing edge usage on edge devices. So that's what I think DeepSeek actually represents. It's actually a very positive thing, a group of smart and intelligent engineers in China. But this is not China Inc. This is not Big Brother. This is not the Chinese government. This is, in my opinion, just a bunch of talented, smart guys that are really not the norm with huge state-run, or let's say huge corporations in China, that it's top-down strategy. This is not that. This is a little bit different. But in my humble opinion, they're on the roadmap for the world, which means everybody is going to lobby and court them. So don't be surprised if companies like Alibaba, Huawei, Tencent say, hey, let's partner. I feel that might happen. That might happen.
Okay. I appreciate healthy competition, and we don't want the knowledge to be concentrated in one part of the world. So I do like the competition, and it has given even US to rethink about how is that DeepSeek was able to do all these computations at a very cheap rate, right? Google and OpenAI spent billions of dollars to train their LLMs, whereas the cost that was involved in training DeepSeek models were way cheaper. It's like fraction of what these two companies spent. How did that happen?
One tenth.
One tenth, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think that happened?
Well, there really has been no lack of, or a limited lack of not getting these GPUs. I mean, look, this is the Chinese world. Anything can be had, anything can be acquired. So they were able to get GPUs, but they still have a limitation. There is still a limitation for the amount of GPUs that Chinese AI vendors want. So don't get me wrong, there is a limitation, but they are able to get the GPUs. They just had to use a smarter method to obtain the results that they were looking for at a lower cost option. This is what China is very good at: low cost manufacturing, low cost R&D, low cost design. This is the China model. And so if you push Chinese suppliers into a corner by saying you can't have these chips, well, guess what? They will figure out a way to get them. And that's exactly what's happened. And look, this is just history. This whole DeepSeek Sputnik moment is only a Sputnik moment for those Western people who underestimate the Chinese world. That's my opinion.
There was a
Now,
myth that DeepSeek actually used OpenAI's basic LLM models and built on top of
yes,
it.
something called scraping the internet. But absolutely. I mean, but don't forget that China, through Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, has tremendous amount of data points and data they've accumulated. Of course, so does Google,
Yep.
Facebook, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft. What we're looking at here is not a den of saints, okay? I've talked about this for more than a decade because I was in mobile device payment and mobile device security. So look, here's the reality. Everyone is using your data. You're being basically manipulated for your data. And so I used to say when I was with another company, what you want to do is basically take back your self-sovereign identity and your data privacy and security. But it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to do that when everybody wants your data. Okay, everybody. They say data is the new oil. No. Data is the new gold. And
Mhm.
but the problem is all that data doesn't equate to trust. So that is the big problem. Trust of the data, because you can't get trust online. There is zero trust online, and there's not enough security. We're jumping into a different area here, but I
Mhm.
guess the point of the matter is you can't keep innovative countries and companies from innovating with advanced technology, and you certainly cannot keep hardware manufacturing out of the hands of people that want it. Why? I talk about in my PPT, my PowerPoint slide presentation. 90% of all the AI chips in the world are made in Taiwan. Okay, but China makes all the data center servers either privately through Taiwan ODM contract manufacturers or through basically their own domestic manufacturer. So you can't stop that. And of course, the AI algorithms are designed, as I mentioned, 50% by people from Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia, except many of them are in Silicon Valley. So you have a very Asia dominant technology, AI. It's very
Mhm.
Asia dominant, from the manufacturing to the supply of the software to the supply of the chips. How do you expect you're going to keep any of this technology away from China? Impossible.
I'm not sure if US government is trying to keep these governments away from innovation.
Yes, yes.
It's just ensuring, just like you said, NVIDIA's GPUs are manufactured in Taiwan, right? Majority. I think the government just wants to make sure that the manufacturing happens within America, on American soil. And that is where billions of dollars are invested, right? On
Let
AI.
Washington State is absolutely the best place for semiconductor chip manufacturing because we have the power and we have the water. There's no doubt. That's why all the data center servers, that's why all the clouds centers are concentrated in Seattle. Yeah, we do have clouds in the sky, but we also have cloud data center infrastructure here, which is consolidated here. So semiconductor chip manufacturing would have been better here than in Arizona. However, I also spent a year working down in Freescale Semiconductor from 2004 to 2005 in Arizona. And let me tell you, there's a tremendous amount of semiconductor talent in Arizona as well. Intel has had a number of plants there for a number of years. There are a bunch of companies. So you're not going to keep the manufacturing from coming to the United States. I just would have hoped that it would come closer to where Microsoft, Boeing, Amazon are, but unfortunately went down to Arizona, or fortunate for Arizona, the city of Arizona, the city of Phoenix. That's good for them. But the interesting thing is TSMC actually had a semiconductor fab in Vancouver, Washington. Most people don't even know that, but that's to tap the Hillsboro semiconductor cluster in Oregon, actually, because it's over the bridge, right? It's just over the bridge.
Mhm.
So you've got lots of manufacturing going on here in the United States, but nobody beats Taiwan. And actually, if you look back, by the way, also another story. I actually met Morris Chang, who founded TSMC, when I was finishing up my Mandarin Chinese language studies at National Taiwan Normal University in 1985. I had a chance meeting. I got introduced to him at a chance meeting at Brother Hotel in Taipei, Taiwan. At that point in time, I couldn't tell you the difference between a semiconductor chip and a Doritos chip. Okay, I didn't know the difference. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Since then, I jumped into the computer manufacturing industry. So I actually ran into him when I was the local American or student resident in Taiwan, and he was the foreign American from Texas Instruments who went to Taiwan. We had a nice, interesting chat. Nothing ever happened of that, and then to like a number of years later, I think ran into each other at a trade show again, and then then a decade or so later, like, wow, TSMC was growing. They weren't what they are now, but they were growing. You could see this company was growing. But I think the real key point here is to remember that much of the technology that went to Asia came from the United States. This is a fact. Through a process of osmosis, the technology migrated to Taiwan. Taiwan is the leader. And if you look at Samsung and if you look at SMIC, which is in China, all of that technology flowed from Taiwan. These are facts. So Taiwan is the silicon shield. I'm not trying to get into politics, but it is the silicon shield. It is the semiconductor heaven, so to speak, for the entire supply chain, and it will remain that. And the fact that they've gone down to Arizona is something I knew was going to happen a number of years ago. And I think it's great for the United States to have this because we invented the semiconductor industry. And so the fact that the United States and Taiwan can work together, I think is very, very, very important. But I also feel that first of all, people underestimate the power of Taiwan technology because it isn't just TSMC, it's Foxconn, it's Honghai, it's MediaTek. Taiwan is a technological powerhouse that helped to grow China's prowess. So people underestimate the importance of Taiwan on the growth of China and the importance of Taiwan right now, actually, in the manufacturing of all this ICT technology that China is asking to manufacture. China outsources this to TSMC, to MediaTek, to Foxconn, to Honghai and Foxconn. These are basically all Taiwan companies. You can find them all in Hsinchu, the Hsinchu Science Park. That's where you find these companies. It's great that they've come to America, but they've also gone to Japan and Germany. It's called diversification of your portfolio, and that's very smart.
Actually, this leads me into the next conversation I wanted to have with you, AI chips supply chain. So, what are the challenges with this AI chip supply chain, and how is this different from a regular commodity supply chain?
Well, I feel that, let's say AI, let me backtrack. I feel that one day AI chatbots will be a commodity. Okay. Not
Okay.
now. Not now. You've got one that's closed source, you've got one that's open source. But guess what? The floodgates are open. And that's going to continue. But so in terms of AI chips, and not just the regular semiconductor chip industry, because the semiconductor chip industry is incredibly complex. I had the fortunate opportunity to work for a real fab down in Phoenix, Arizona. I called that my 1 year Moses in the desert period when I worked down in Phoenix, Arizona for Freescale Semiconductor. They were merged into or bought by NXP, still around, by the way. So there are lots of, in terms of the AI chip, obviously the biggest is geopolitical issues. The United States wants to restrict the usage of GPUs, so-called AI chips, which is really not just GPUs. There's a bunch of components that you need for an AI chip: memory, the GPU. In the case of Google, it's a TPU, and there are other components that are important to what creates an AI chip. Now, the geopolitical risks are quite fierce because the U.S. is trying to restrict China from getting these chips, obviously, but the chips are made in Taiwan, and TSMC will try to vet very carefully the chips that are going into China, restricting the ones that the U.S. government says you can't sell to China. In China, they have something called they have centers where you can buy all these components. Huaqiangbei is in Shenzhen. Huaqiangbei is where the world goes to assemble all kinds of ICT products, and it's an amazing place. You tell me you won't find GPUs at Huaqiangbei and Shenzhen? Let me tell you, you will. Let me tell you,
How
you
are they
will.
accessing it? Because it's a very complex technology, as you just explained, right?
But
Like
but
companies like
it's all
Nvidia is capable of making these chips. And how
oh
do you make them available to just a street market?
well, that's just the whole thing of things going through So how would NVIDIA sell its chips to Asia? The data centers. So let's go back and talk about data centers. America has the most data centers in the world, but the second most data centers are owned by China. Okay. Now, where's a key point for data centers? Singapore. Singapore. And Singapore is doing amazing things with data centers. You're telling me that I can't buy a GPU into Singapore and reverse transfer that into China? Come on. This is the way trade has always worked. So it's no problem to get GPUs. It really is no problem to get GPUs. You can get them through various sources. And by the way, Taiwan and China have a very close relationship when it comes to manufacturing ICT technologies. People in the West sometimes feel, well, Taiwan and China are so distant. No, it's essentially the same culture, but different social structures and different governments, et cetera, et cetera. So in the semiconductor chip space and even the AI space in Taiwan, that the salaries have been depressed. They've been depressed for at least 10, 15 years. So if you're an up-and-coming, inspiring young AI designer, and you get the chance to go and work in China, they're going to give you lots of money. They're going to throw lots of money in your face to come and transfer your knowledge. Knowledge transfer, they call it. This has been going on for 10, 15 years. This is not new. So if you want to see how osmosis works, just ask a disgruntled guy who works at TSMC, hey, do you want to go work in China? We'll give you a house. We'll give you a car. We'll give you many benefits and a great salary. I guarantee you Taiwanese engineers are frothing at the mouth to do such things. So you think you're going to actually even stop the supply of, by the way, NVIDIA, the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, he's born in Taiwan. I've been to NVIDIA in Taipei more than a decade ago. It's very, very strong office. And of course, they've got the direct connection with Hsinchu and TSMC. How do you think you're going to stop the flow of GPUs into China? Not going to happen. So anyway, I hope that answers your question from the perspective of, listen, Asia works a little bit differently than the West. This is just the way things work in Asia. You got a buddy in Singapore. You got a brother working and studying in Singapore. He'll get you the GPUs. He'll ship them off to China. No big deal. It happens. Can't stop it.
Okay. So if Taiwan has this concentration of semiconductor or AI chip skills, can we expect DeepSeek kind of an app coming out of Taiwan or India? You were talking about India too.
Oh, absolutely. So I've got a deep history with India. In fact, on Microsoft's campus in 2008 or 7, I gave a presentation on Microsoft's campus saying, first of all, in 2003, I gave a presentation that China would be the largest mobile market on the planet, and it has been. And in 2004, I gave the first presentation on the global smartphone revolution, China, the mobile digital dragon, in London in January, being invited. That was the first public speaking presentation in the world on smartphones. Okay. It's all on YouTube. You can see it. Sure. Now, in 2007, I was invited to Microsoft to talk about Indian wireless markets and also George Washington University. And I was explaining that India will become the second largest wireless market in the world. And Indian people in the audience were laughing at me like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And this was for the Thai Indus entrepreneurs, a very famous Indian technology organization. And they're saying, Karl, you don't know what you're talking about. Excuse me, I've been from the top of the bottom to China, top of the bottom to India. My job is selling technology to Asia, and that means all of Asia. So in my mind, the Indian AI programmers and developers, they are very sophisticated, but they cannot take advantage and pounce on this human capital in India. They have to come to the West. Because India's semiconductor industry is nascent. It's growing, but it's still. So they come to the United States and they work for these FANG organizations. Now, in retrospect, the Indian government is very, very smart. Who are they lobbying? Not America. They're lobbying Taiwan. It makes perfect sense. that Taiwan has been. I worked in Taiwan microcomputer industry, selling microcomputers to India, and the Indians would get the knowledge of how to build computers in what we call SDK and semi knockdown and complete knockdown. They would take the components from Taiwan to make computer motherboards. They would assemble them, put them into computers, and sell them to Russia for rubles, for hard currency. They would sell computers to Russia, and Russia would give them, I think, hard currency, I think US dollars or something like that. That bartering trade was going on in the 1980s up until maybe to the late 1990s, when India is a great country when it comes to manufacturing now, but they did have problems with, it's the legacy of the British system, this taxation thing, which kills these Commonwealth countries. Taxation. India had a huge problem with taxation. They now realize that we need to inspire foreign companies to come in. So who's coming in? Well, because of the decoupling that's going on with the West and China, who are the recipients of all that technology transfer? It is India, it is Vietnam, it is Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, etc., etc. So that's why in a lot of my public speaking, I talk about the Pacific century rather than the Chinese century, because no matter what, it is a Pacific century, although the Chinese diaspora play a huge role with the investments in land, labor, management in the Pacific century, and even within India. So India semiconductor industry, to build its AI ecosystem and infrastructure, it does need talent and technology, and that's going to come from Taiwan, maybe from the United States, but I think a lot of it is going to come from Taiwan because there's no barriers. Taiwanese people are setting up, and Indian people. I gave a presentation in 2006 called "The Global Smartphone Revolution: China, the Mobile Digital Dragon, and India, the IT Super Tiger," where I predicted more Indian people would be traveling into China and Chinese people traveling into India for the growth of the ICT sector, because it makes perfect sense. These two countries are close, right? They're close to each other. They have been transferring traditions, culture, customs for what, 2,000 years? Come on, it'd be crazy not to see that these two countries will cooperate. It's just that they cooperate at their own pace, not at the pace of the West, but at their own pace. Hopefully I've answered your question.
Yeah, you did. So, with all these technological advancements in AI, where do you see the future of the world? In your perspective, I know we're already
Yes.
starting to see a lot of changes. Companies are starting to automate a lot of things, and it's becoming more agentic way of conversing and getting information. There's a lot going on everywhere in all the technologies, medical, transportation, space. AI is everywhere. AI is not a separate domain anymore. It works with all the domains and it enhances the experience. So where do you see the future?
So AI is going down to the edge. Very, very important. It's going down to the edge. And that's why you see Google, Microsoft, and even Huawei jumping into it, because when you have it, like, for example, Apple Intelligence, what is that? What is that? It's AI in their A18 chip at the edge in the mobile processor, which means you're going to have improvements in your camera usage. You're going to have these agentic agents running around your phone, trying to see if you're healthy, telling you need to have coffee, you're running out of energy.
Okay.
There will be a problem where you say, "Oh my God," to your smartphone, "Please shut up." yeah, that will happen. So where I see AI moving towards is the edge, not just in smartphones, but also in IoT devices. Now, I was involved in integrating the IoT with blockchain for AI usage, but integrating IoT blockchain for renewable energy, combining those two things, because that's important. But it will only happen on Internet of Things modules. So let's backtrack. So what is the Internet of Things? It's connecting thousands of things together. Well, you can do that with WAN technology and smartphones. That's how we do it on the smartphone side. But on the thing side of industrial and commercial things that you wanted connected together, that can only be done with an IoT module, and
Right.
also different protocols used for the IoT module. What does that mean? That means that your Tesla vehicle uses a cellular IoT module in the T-hub of the vehicle to give it its connectivity, and also tracking all the data back up to a cloud server. And also AI will play a huge role. AI will play a role in your Tesla vehicle, because it will be able to crunch the raw data, refine it, slice and dice, and make sure that only the most relevant, pertinent data will go up into the cloud. Okay, but it will be generated with inference at the edge where the the IoT module is. That's the same thing's going to happen with smart meters, smart lights, smart everything through these IoT modules. So when we say things are going to the edge, yes, they need to go to the edge, because it's a latency problem when you're taking things from the cloud back down to edge devices. We're all using PCs. We're all using smartphones. We're all driving a
Right.
vehicle. We all want that connectivity from the vehicle to make a call in our car.
Yeah.
That all needs AI, because you need to refine the data, and you need to make sure that also the thing we didn't discuss is the security side of AI. And
Right.
that is where I see a big problem. Now, I used to work for a company called Gemalto, which is now Thales. Thales is a hugely important company for the world. I also used to work for ARM. So I was pushing eSIM, but I was pushing device security. Now, the problem with AI that I see with AI systems and AI models in general is garbage in means garbage out.
Correct.
What that means in my mind is, if the level of programmer, if the level of designer is designing the AI agent, the AI, if it's using a large language model with improper data or incorrect data or data that can be easily breached, you now introduce bias, you
Right.
introduce prejudice, you introduce stereotypes, and that is already affecting people's resumes when they try to input their resume online to a job site. That's already affecting AI. So imagine if you have garbage in, garbage out, and you're just a simple guy looking for, or gal looking for a job, and then you have all these biases. I can't hire somebody from India. Oh, I can't hire somebody from Pakistan or from Ukraine. Oh, no. So you see, the problem there is garbage in, garbage out. And the other problem is, who's actually offering the security? The security must be tamper resistant with secure enclaves in the chip. Fortunately, companies like ARM have great security. Fortunately, companies like TSMC are using ARM architecture. Intel doesn't use ARM architecture, but Intel also has its security. The real key point is, we're not going to have AI. In order for AI to really expand, it needs the security, because if we have breaches of AI, that means that state actors, that means that rogue regimes can take AI algorithms and they can do terribly destructive things with AI,
Right.
and that's what we want to avoid. Now, in my humble opinion, there's a bit of a hype thinking, well, China has AI now and the whole world is in peril. Look, I've lived in Beijing, China for 5 years. I have thousands of friends in China, Taiwan, India, etc., etc. Let's give humans a little bit more credit than warmongering issues. Okay, people, especially engineers just want to design. That's what they want to do. They want to develop new things. They want to innovate. Salespeople want to sell. That's me. I sell. But I also have been able to recognize that there are lots of good people in the world, but there are also some bad people. We just want to keep AI away from the bad people. I'm not 100% sure of how we can do that, but I think I have an issue. I think I have a possible solution. And I've said this 10, 15 years ago. Nobody seems to have listened. We need a United Nations of ethical software and hardware developers. We need that in the world today. We don't have it. And so that's why we have no trust and no security on the internet, zero, because we have no we have no ethical environment for software and hardware people, technology people, to validate that they're doing ethical things. I think the world needs that. We don't have
Yeah.
it. Maybe one day, like the United Nations, maybe we need that in order to help AI as well. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think it needs to be ingrained into the process of everything, like whether it's a software, hardware, semiconductor, or AI chips. It has to be ingrained. Um,
And
and governments
it's
should come up
not.
with policies. It is not. Usually, the policies follow after something has gone wrong. It's a very reactive approach to fixing a problem rather than predicting something can go wrong with a technology like this
Yeah.
and already putting in the policies. Unfortunately, it's a slow process, but I'm glad to hear that we have these architecture that's putting a guardrail on what can be done. When you were talking about bias, these LLMs are learning from the real world right now. They're scanning
Yes.
through all the social media, the information that exists already, and it's trying to mimic the real world. So if a bias exists in the real world, it is going to be carried to the digital world as well, right?
Yes, it will.
Unless
Yes, it
we
will.
consciously reinforce and then say, okay, you know what, this is a biased version, and I want to take out the bias. So I need to be feeding in consciously an unbiased data, the golden data that we call to train the LLM models, right?
Yes,
So we
exactly.
avoid that bias. So I think it should be a conscious decision. So if you just let the model just go and scan the whole internet and learn, it's going to just pick up the goods and bads and worst. So we don't want that. We have an opportunity to fix that in the digital world. That's one thing.
But I don't
And
know
this,
if we, but I'm not sure if we can do that when we have a situation where on one side we have the West, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, mining your data and actually taking your data and selling it to a data broker. We have that going on in America. It's also going on in China. It's going on everywhere in the world because of one simple word. It's called greed. So I'm not sure in the capitalist society you can remove greed because, as Andy Grove said, only the paranoid survive, and the paranoid survive, and a lot of that has to do with the greed factor. And there's just a lot of greed in the world. So I'm not sure we're going to 100% remove that, but I just think that there are ethical companies that do want to practice self-sovereign identity and privacy, as they say, privacy for the individuals, and that means protecting your data from malicious attacks, protecting your financial data from attacks through your mobile wallet. There are great companies doing that, and then there's not enough because I'm sorry to say, security and the removal of biases and all that costs money. It's not free. Um, Nothing is free. And in the end, these AI algorithms and these chatbots, they're also not free. Nothing is free. And
right.
in the end, advertising models are what companies like Google have been using for decades. So, and how can you stop that? Because that's capitalism at its finest, and that's just the way that companies operate. Now, as I said, I predict that DeepSeek is just opening the floodgates to hopefully lots of other entrepreneurial companies that will have maybe take a little bit more ethics and morality approach to developing technology, because in my world technology will never save your soul. That's more of a Christian belief, but that's my humble viewpoint. It will not save your soul. You do not depend for your entire life on advances in technology. That would be a very shallow means of existence. And so, I mean, that's getting into theology and ethics. I don't want to go there, but I will say that we need to be concerned with the AI developers that are developing these technologies so that we do remove biases, prejudices, and stereotypes of humans. Because let's put it this way: we want humans to control machines, and not machines to control humans.
Correct. Yeah. That is how all the sci-fi movies portray that AI is come in and take over the world. It's a disaster for humans. I wish there's an AI
And
movie that actually
it's
positively projects the AI, that it enhances the experience of human life, and you don't get to do the chores. You do what's most important to you, creating beautiful things. I wish there's
It is
one movie
funny.
that comes out.
It is funny how Hollywood imitates or emulates life. Though I want to caution, it is funny how Hollywood emulates fact, along with fiction. So maybe Hollywood is our bells and whistles moment that the Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Could
Right.
that possibly happen one day?
It
Who
can.
knows?
Yeah, it can if you don't set those guardrails right now. I want to touch upon the mobile technology since you're an expert on mobile. How smartphones will be with the help of all the generative AI.
Well, you can't
What
see it. There's my
cognitive
mobile right
experience?
there. Say it one more time.
So I was going to say, how is this generative AI transforming our mobile experience, the smartphone
Um,
experience?
yeah, I let me try to attack that. It's very, very interesting. So imagine your camera taking a photo and you say, "Oh, the lighting is off. Oh my, I don't look pretty enough."
Okay.
Well, I actually saw that in 2024 in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress. I saw Google demoing this,
Hmm.
where the Gen AI or the AI was able to basically look at the photo, modify it, improve the lighting without you manually doing it after you take the photo.
Mm.
It automatically did that. So that's one of the things you can expect from generative AI and inference down at the smartphone level. So AI cameras. I mean, essentially, your smartphone now is your entire multimedia tool when it can take and use Gen AI and can actually completely modify the photo to the best possible photo ready solution. AI can do that. Another thing is what we call these personal agentic agents, or these agents. Listen, they're going to be on your phone. They're already on your phone.
They're
And
on the
listen,
phone.
most Americans don't even know it. If you have an Apple iPhone 16 and you've downloaded the latest iPhone operating system, you have it. You just haven't used it. It is there. It will tell you your health, just like your
Mhm.
Fitbit. I've got a Fitbit myself. Your health fitness band is, you've got to hold it though. Okay,
Mhm.
you've got to physically hold the smartphone, and it will be able to tell you your health. It'll be able to tell you your mood. It'll be able to tell you your blood glucose level, etc., etc. It'll be able to do all that. But the AI systems will do all other things. For example, tell you to get ready for your upcoming trip to Barcelona. You need to get on the plane. You need to be at the airport a few hours early. It will be able to tell you all these things. And it'll also have security features to improve biometric authentication and facial recognition. It will be able to do all that. Um, and also, let's say, AI generated customization um, on the actual device itself. The AI will read the physical components in the smartphone and say, well, I need to get the battery to go into saver mode, optimization mode, because you're running too high and you don't need to. So it'll be able to manage the battery power, battery management. It'll be able to do it automatically with AI. And it'll actually be able to make lots of different personalizations. For
Mhm.
example, in the morning, it knows you like to wake up to Bach or Beethoven. It will automatically play the music to wake you
Mhm.
up at 7 a.m. Mr. Weaver, it's time to get up, jump in the shower. We'll put on some nice music. We'll set the mood for you. Your smartphone is going to do all those things, but you might think, oh no, impossible. Yeah, definitely possible.
Oh yeah, definitely possible. I'm not going to think anything is impossible right now after what I've seen.
Yeah, I wanted to come back to the point where, look, I've spent my entire professional career bringing Western technology, or most of my professional career, bringing Western technology to get design in wins or scaled in the Asian world, all over Asia. And now I see an inflection point where many Asian countries, including India, including China, and of course Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, they're innovating, and there are lots of hungry people. And let's not forget Vietnam. Vietnam is a country that, due to supply chain, due to decoupling with China, Vietnam has experienced tremendous growth and wealth. I actually gave a presentation on Vietnam's mobile payment markets about 6 months ago.
Mhm.
But I realized that now all of Asia is rising, and as an American, I studied Mandarin Chinese under scholarship for 3 years, and I've been speaking Mandarin, reading and writing Mandarin my entire professional career. It's not up to Asia just to learn English. Okay,
Mhm.
they have been. That is one of the secrets of the rise of the Pacific century. We Americans are the laggards. Um, we Americans need to learn Asian languages, and I honestly suggest that instead of the U.S. government putting heavy hands on American companies to restrict the sale of technology, why don't you request American universities to teach and give scholarships and internships to Americans to learn Asian languages, especially Mandarin? Why don't American companies have internships to hire young Americans who want to learn Asian languages? Think about this. I got the opportunity as a young man to go to Asia, and my whole world opened up. Many Americans do not have this opportunity. Now, there are many Americans in Silicon Valley that would love to know, well, if I'd only started earlier to learn Mandarin Chinese, maybe at this point in time, my Chinese skills would be up to par with Mr. Karl. Well, guess what? It all starts from companies helping out, universities helping out, the government giving support. We're in the Pacific century. There's no doubt in my mind. Asia's growing. They love to come to America. There is not a person in Asia who does not like to visit America. I've never met anybody who
Mhm.
doesn't like to visit America. Do they want to live here? We're blessed to have a lot of Asian people who want to come and live here and contribute. It's really basically taking the crop of the best talent from Asia. Those that survive in America end up contributing a lot to America. That's
Mhm.
what we need.
Mhm.
That's what we need. And we need multiculturalism. We need more of that. And I think Silicon Valley is a melting pot for all of that. But I
Yeah.
just say to those domestic Americans, you cannot rest on your laurels when Asia is rising and the Pacific century is here. It's here, and it's up to us domestic Americans to recognize that and realize that. And then you won't have any deep seat Sputnik moments. It'll be a natural progression. That's all I
Mhm.
wanted. That's what I wanted to say.
I'm glad you said that. You were talking about American universities giving scholarship to students to learn Mandarin, right? Do you still think language will be a barrier? Because AI can be, we have generative AIs that helps
Yes,
translations and all of
I'll
that,
tell you.
right? Yeah.
I'll tell you the positive and the negative things about languages and AI. I'll tell you right now, and I'll tell you from a personal example. When I left, Beijing in 20, when I left working in Beijing in 2013, my reading and writing skills, especially writing, because when you travel to China, you have to write your name down everywhere. You can't
Mhm.
use AI. Okay, so my reading and writing skills were perfect, and my typing, I type in traditional and in simplified Chinese, and those skills were fantastic. But since I'm only been traveling now in and out of China, I don't have the opportunity to be able to write as much. I'm reading, but I'm not writing as much. So my writing skills have gone down.
Mhm.
But that's because I'm using AI tools and
Mhm.
predictive text in
Mhm.
order to type more. So AI doesn't help with that. AI is not going to help you learn languages per se if you don't have the base of the language and you get lazy. We all do. We rely on the AI. So I know what you're saying. I can use your smartphone and go into China or go into India and speak Hindi with my smartphone.
Right.
Do you think you're really gaining much from that? No, I think I think AI is helping a little bit, but that's not the long-term solution. The long-term solution is to roll up your sleeves, dig into a language, a customs, and a culture, and that AI can help on the side, but it is not the only means of learning a foreign language. It can never be. You
Mhm.
cannot take the human brain and expect AI to replace it because the human brain does not retain like AI can retain, because AI is a machine. The human brain, which uses neuro thinking, the machine uses neural networks, but the brain uses neuro thinking and processes and stores it. We are not machines. We cannot do the same thing as AI. I don't know. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did. You did, Carl. I'm really happy that I met you today. There were a lot of insights. The questions that I had, they were all answered. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure audiences will have a lot of insights from this podcast today.
I'm specialized in the entire ICT sector. I've been in this sector for decades. And I believe and I feel that the best way to explain to Americans is by basically giving them the facts without hype, without hysteria, and without geopolitical issues. That's my viewpoint. So I'm open to working with you in the future on these things. And I'm also open to answering any questions that people have. American companies, please don't rest on your laurels. Asia is rising. The Pacific Century is here. Hire Mandarin-speaking specialists to help you sell into Asia.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much.
Another language and other Asian languages. I'm sorry. I don't mean to prejudice
No
other
worries. Go ahead. Go ahead.
important Asian languages. So I should say shukriya, dhanyawad, nandri,
Oh,
whatever.
shukriya. Thank you so much. It's wonderful talking to you, Carl. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. You have a great day. And everybody out there, have a great weekend and come back refreshed next week.
Thank you. Bye, Carl.
Bye.